Stop me if you've heard this one before. Dak Prescott recently talked about his lack of a contract extension. Look, until he gets a new contract with the Cowboys, it is going to be topic number one or close to it anytime he speaks, anytime Jerry Jones speaks. And this is very simple when you break it down. He had the Cowboys over a barrel 3 years ago. They signed a contract that was inevitably going to put them even more over a barrel entering the fourth year of it. I said at the time, because Patrick Mahomes had just signed his long-term deal, Dak signs 4 years, 160, when you consider the structure and the other pieces of it that make it harder for the Cowboys to force him to stay after this year. They can't tag him after this year. He's a free agent. He hits the market after this year. His deal was better because if you're a quarterback, you want to get back to the table sooner rather than later. Mahomes signed like a 12-year contract. 4 years, and he's back. And he's got all the leverage. And the Cowboys, I think, have decided we're not going to give him top-of-the-market money. We'll give him another year to show what he can do, and then we'll make our offer and let him go hit the market. And if he wants to go make more somewhere else, fine. And not be the quarterback of the Cowboys, fine. I think they believe that someone else is going to have to offer him a lot more to get him to go. That at the end of the day, he'll choose to stay in Dallas, choose to continue to be the quarterback of the Cowboys, because that opens the doors to waltzing right into a booth and being number one analyst at one of the networks. We've seen it happen time and again. Troy Aikman, Tony Romo, Jason Witten got a chance on Monday Night Football because of his connection to the Cowboys. I mean, it's all Cowboys, Cowboys, Cowboys. And I think that they're going to dare him to walk away from that after this season. And that's why I think they don't even need to talk about it anymore. We know what it is. They're not going to do a new contract. They're going to wait until after the season. He's going to get close to the open market, get into that negotiating window, and we're going to find out what else is out there. And he's going to find out what else is out there or what else is not out there. And the Cowboys think he'll come back. And if not, they'll go find a new quarterback.
Well, and they're going to have to find a new coach too, presumably, right? If things don't go well this year for Mike McCarthy in the last year of his contract. So that's going to be another factor in all of this. Who is the head coach next year? Is that head coach offensive / quarterback friendly, right? Are they going to be able to call the plays and all this different kinds of stuff? What is this thing going to look like? What is this season going to look like for Dak Prescott, who had a really good year last year with Mike McCarthy calling the plays until they got to the postseason and absolutely peed down their leg, both legs, really. I mean, it was just urine everywhere on the Cowboys field, basically. So like, that's where you can look at it and you can say, all right, I don't.
Maybe after sleeping like 10 hours, you can manage to pee down both legs. That just takes a pretty full bladder, I think.
Well, did they not? I mean, they got the 2 seed. They won the NFC East, and then they didn't just pee the bed; they pooped the bed. Like they were
that's a Sims line. That's a Sims line.
Really? I guess I've been sitting in this chair a little too long. I'm absorbing some. Okay. Well, I try not to say words that are bad. Anyway, I feel like this is an interesting year, obviously, for Dak Prescott. And, other than Kirk Cousins, I don't know that any quarterback has been able to sort of play the business of football game, let's call it, better than Dak Prescott at the quarterback position in the last 10 years. Because, I mean, he's always in the conversation when it comes to his contract. And part of that is that, he was a 4th-round pick. So you don't have the 5th-year option, and then he's had success, but not that much success in the playoffs. So it's kind of like, well, he's one of these quarterbacks that's in the mid to upper tier, but I don't know that anybody would consider Dak Prescott elite. And that's where the issue comes in, because do you want to pay him like an elite quarterback? I don't know. Would anybody else pay him like an elite quarterback? I don't know. So, yeah, I think in a lot of ways, it does make sense for the Cowboys to play this out over the course of 2024.
That's the issue, though. And, guys will get contracts that pay them as elite quarterbacks because of their circumstances, not necessarily because of their overall ability relative to others. And you look at Mahomes taking the long-term deal. You look at Josh Allen taking the long-term deal. Josh Allen's woefully underpaid right now. He did the long-term deal. What's he going to do about that? He's kind of stuck now. Dak Prescott, because the Cowboys dragged their feet after his 3rd season when he was entering his contract year because he wasn't a first-round pick, they didn't pay him then. And then they didn't pay him the next year. They did the 1 year of the franchise tag. And even though he broke his ankle in very ugly and graphic fashion, he was healed, he was healthy, and in lieu of tagging him again, although they did have to burn the second tag, which makes it even harder and more impossible for them to tag him next year, that's when they did this long-term deal, which was only 4 years, 160. That was the key to get them to agree. But they knew they were stuck because they were looking at the following year, a 44% increase over his franchise tag for his second year of the tag, which was a 20% bump over the first year. The numbers get astronomical quickly. And that's why we should see more quarterbacks engineering this to their advantage. I talked about this not that long ago, where one of these guys eventually is going to come into the NFL and say, you know what, I am treating this like the NBA. A quarterback can do it because the wear and tear, the rules are set up so you're not banged up. And after 7 years, if you're a first-round pick, potential franchise quarterback, you can say, all right, 4 years in, you're offering me a contract, don't want it. Fifth-year option, all right, I finished that. You're offering me a long-term deal instead of franchise tag, don't want it. Tag me. Tag me again. You're not going to tag me a third time. 7 years, and I can go wherever I want. 7 years. Whoever it is, any of these guys this year, if Caleb Williams only wants to do 7 years in Chicago, he can go. If Jaden Daniels only wants to do 7 years in Washington, he can go. One of these years, one of these days, one of these guys is going to do it. We talk about the NBA, NFL parallels all the time. That's a way for a quarterback who would still be in his early prime, 28 years old. I'm gone. I go wherever I want. Mahomes could have done it. Mahomes would have been there right now, 7 years in. Is he 7 years in? 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2. He's 8 years in. He could have done it a year ago. But one of these guys is going to do it. One of these days, 7 years in, and off I go. You know, Cousins really didn't have a choice. He's got a $20 million franchise tag, and they offered him $16 million a year. What the hell was he going to do? Take the long-term offer? No. Prescott's kind of engineered. And think about next year. You got him. We talked about this earlier in the week. Tua, Jared Goff, all three potentially walk into the market. And what's somebody else going to pay him? Is anybody going to roll out the green carpet for any of those three guys and grossly overpay them? Especially based upon how this Kirk Cousins experiment goes. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not even close to 100% sure. I'd say right now, all three of those guys go to the market. The question is whether or not they choose to come back and take the best offer their team puts on the table. I think there's a chance all three of them end up on the open market.
Well, right. And then you got to consider what the quarterbacks in the draft are going to look like next year. And, you know, whether or not that's going to be that much more attractive than somebody who's going to be a veteran, right? I mean, you got Tua Tagovailoa, who's going to be coming off his first contract. Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, further along in their careers as 2016 draft picks. And so they're veteran guys. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But, you know, I mean, there's other factors at play here, you know. I mean, you offer somebody nine figures, you know, significant nine figures. If you talk about one of these quarterbacks and, you know, saying bleep you after 7 years, offer somebody not a significant nine-figure salary, $50 million a year plus. I mean, at that point, you know, in a couple of years, it might be up to $60 million for a franchise quarterback, and then they're gonna say, no, I don't want it. Yeah, what? Like that's a tough thing to turn down unless you really, really, really hate your circumstances. You know, you talk about that. That's kind of in a vacuum too, where it's, oh well, I'm going to turn all this money, guaranteed money, down because I don't like where I'm at. I mean, that's what it has to be. I really don't like where I play, and I don't have enough influence to change things into the way that I want them to be, even though because I know I'm a great quarterback. Like that. That's where that I don't know how practical that is.
Or I'm making so much money off the field because I'm a star player in the NFL, and whatever they're offering me still doesn't reflect what I think I'm worth, and I have the confidence I'm going to bet on myself. You know, a lot of times when a guy bets on himself, it's because the alternative isn't all that great. The real bet on yourself is to say no to the life-changing generational wealth and be confident you're still going to get it somewhere else later on your terms with the team you want to play for. I'm just saying one of these days somebody's going to do it. It's easy for me to say that because you can't prove me wrong if I say one of these days, because 100 years from now you can say it still hasn't happened. Well, it still said one of these days. I didn't say when. Exactly. But one of these days. Yeah. One of these days somebody is going to do it. And I think that as players come into the NFL with more NIL money, I just think we're going to see that pivot. We already see teams whining about how NIL has made it so much harder. Oh, boo-hoo. It's so much harder because these players actually make money now. Shut up with that crap. So what? Oh, sorry, we don't have robots anymore. Hey, the robots are realizing that they're alive and that they have money and they have options. Deal with it, okay? I'm so sick of the people whining about how the landscape has changed because, God forbid, players are finally earning some money. But it's going to embolden them, and there will be. The same as there's going to be somebody who's going to make a power play to not be drafted by the team they don't want to be drafted by. There's going to be a guy who says 7 years, and I'm out. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.